If you're looking for a character who's explosive, fun to play, and a very rewarding character to master, then look no further than this Junkrat guide. Thank you so much for stopping by and tuning in. My name is New Frontier, and let's jump into this new guide for Junkrat. If you want to see more Overwatch content, shooters, and more, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. And let's get into part 1, which will be an overview of his basic attacks and playstyle. Junkrat at his core is all about heavy zoning and controlling space, allowing his team to gain the positional advantage. His frag grenades, when utilized correctly, can turn the tide of a fight extremely quickly and create space for additional pressure. On the surface, Junkrat may seem like an easy character that's all about spamming grenades mindlessly, but as you learn more about his kit, you'll realize that having a deep understanding of enemy positioning, strong map knowledge, and situational awareness becomes paramount in mastering his playstyle. Now, failing to understand these fundamental principles will often lead to unfavorable situations and ultimately a significant loss in value for Junkrat's more calculated approach. Your frag grenades, when paired with your concussion mines, allow for you to traverse maps with ease, placing yourself in advantageous positions to gain the line of sight in order to maintain offense and push for the checkpoint. One great benefit of Junkrat when compared to other characters is that he can still hit enemies who are hiding behind walls, since he's able to angle his grenades to scare them out of position and gain free damage. Furthermore, he also doesn't have to expose himself, since you can easily hide behind cover and use your grenades as a way to open up avenues for your team to attack. Junkrat is extremely flexible in that his kit really favors both an offensive and defensive playstyle, which highly depends on the situation, giving him a lot of value as a DPS unit. When aiming your frag grenades, you'll want to aim where enemies are going, not where they are. This is because limiting the amount of space the enemy can move around in will give you the chance to capitalize on poor positioning, block off escape options, maintain consistent pressure, and allow your team to push the objective with less pressure. Now, concussion mines are a fantastic versatile tool, as they can be used to traverse maps to gain the high ground, defensively push enemy threats away from you and the team, but more so, producing a high amount of damage by combining them with your traps and grenades. There's literally a plethora of utility in Junkrat's kit, so I encourage you to test the waters and master every aspect of his playstyle to get the most value long term. Now, I've spent about 80 to 90 hours on this character, so it's pretty safe to say that I'm pretty comfortable with Junkrat in all ways, but there's still so much for me to learn as a Junkrat main, and of course, with Overwatch constantly shifting in meta and evolving as the game progresses, there's still a lot for me to explore. So, all that being said, let's move on to the next part of his kit, which will be his traps. Much like the rest of his kit, Junkrat's trap game is really potent when you are able to implement it well into your gameplay, whether it be offensive or defensive. On offense, you really want to be throwing your traps where enemies are going, not where they are. Just like I said before with the frag grenades, it really comes down to knowing enemy patterns and their positioning and taking advantage of their weaknesses as much as you can. Your traps can be utilized in so many different ways, and being able to place your traps in areas where enemies just don't have many options, for example, small choke points or small corridors where they have, again, limited options to move. These are great areas to place your trap down, as it will prevent them from approaching you, therefore giving your team the advantage in terms of our position. Now, in this case, I threw my trap in front of the enemy, and I did that to create a situation where it's baiting them. It's forcing the enemy team to either focus on the trap to avoid getting trapped, or focus on the team. So sometimes it's good to use your trap as a mind game, not so much as a way to trap the enemy, but psychologically trap them, because now they have to be thinking about the trap in front of them. But by doing so, it takes the focus off of the enemy, or our team rather, and gives you a chance to focus on them. So again, this all comes down to combining your frag grenades, your concussion mines, and also your traps all together to create a uniformed assault, a uniform strategy where you're getting all the value from combining your assets. And see, as I mentioned earlier, throwing that trap down in a small corridor will now prevent the enemy team from wanting to flank, because if they do so, they're going to get trapped. And one of the great aspects of Junkrat's traps is that it'll notify you whether or not it's been destroyed or triggered. When something is triggered, it means that an enemy is caught in the trap, and therefore you can notify your team to push that enemy and get value. So overall, mastering the trap game is really effective, especially when you're able to use it in small areas like small choke points. You know, putting it out in the open too often can lead to lesser results. So once again, just being mindful of your placements can really be impactful. You can also use it defensively. If, let's say, enemy wants to push you, you can use a trap to put it down in front of you alongside your concussion mine. So if someone pushes you, they get trapped, and alongside your concussion mine, you can blow them up in front of your face and run away safely. So just keep that in mind as you move forward. The trap game is really impactful once you combine it with your concussion mines and frag grenades, using it both offensively and defensively, and be creative. That's the most important thing too. Be creative with your trap game and it'll yield greater results. Now, that being said, let's move on to his last part of his kit, which will be his Riptire. One of the best tools in the game is none other than the Riptire. Junkrat's Riptire is so versatile and so effective from a variety of different angles. You can use it to climb over buildings. You can be very, very creative with this weapon, and it can be a very devastating tool if utilized correctly. Junkrat is one character who really specializes in turning the tide of battle really, really quickly. And Riptide is one of those ultimates that can really shift the momentum in your team's favor if you're able to really optimize it really well. Now, you don't want to be throwing this out willy-nilly, because if you do, you're obviously losing out on really big value. So it's important to position yourself correctly when utilizing the Riptide, as you don't want enemy players to know that you are using it and therefore take advantage of that opportunity. You want to be able to be very sneaky, just as you would as you're playing normally. You want to be very, very incognito with how you position yourself. And the best way to do that is to oftentimes plant your Riptide on walls and allow it to sit on that wall, because players are not able to really hear where the Riptide's coming from. So the longer you can delay the Riptide's momentum, the much easier it will be to throw off enemy teams and therefore get the value that you really need for your Riptide. It's a very, very effective tool. It creates a lot of space for just about everyone on your team, and what it can do for you is, again, very game changing. Riptide is a tool that can really take players by surprise, and especially if you understand the fundamental principle of using your ult when it matters. It's not about just throwing out your ult randomly in hopes that it'll hit. You know, you have to be really, really calculated, really, really focused on how you want this to shift in your team's favor. So really making sure to master your positioning, master your creativity with this tool, you will certainly see the results necessary. So that being said, hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Let me know in the comment section down below what more you want to see from Junkrat. And until next time, take care and have a good one. Peace out.